I'm Dan Drake. This is Front Up on Geno TV and Channel 99. Our guest today is Neil Patterson. Neil, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Neil is, among other things, a member of the Land Bank, and he's also a candidate for re-election without opposition. So we don't have to have anybody else on.
I feel very fortunate.
No equal time. Anyway, there's some things going on at the Land Bank, and there's some noise around the Land Bank, and I thought it'd be a good time to have you on to talk about some of that.
Yes, there is. We've had a lot of, some people might call it negative publicity to do with my comment over the winter, but I'd also like to talk about the good things that have been happening, because some of our...
Let's get my comment out of the way first, though.
Okay. I thought you'd do that.
There's been some issues with other commissioners about conflicts of interest and so forth, which came to a head, and was really what got the publicity. But what is happening now with the clubhouse? Has a decision been made to go ahead? Has it been?
There are two main issues with my comment. I'm going to talk about myself, not what the other commissioners think. There's the clubhouse, which works. Is it totally up to date, up to code? No, it isn't, but it works. The other issue that's looming hard and fast, which we talked about last night, is employee housing. We spend $109,000 renting accommodation so the golf courses will run. And we get about $89,000 of that back in rent charged.
So it's a net 20.
It's a net 20. To me, the most important thing going forward as employee housing is just becoming a really serious issue, is to build a dormitory type thing for 12 to 16 people. Unfortunately, as we learned in building a cart barn and many other, and Sconset Golf, we have to pay, we're treated like a municipality. We have to pay prevailing wage, decam, all the whole thing. And it's horrendously expensive.
Right.
But I'm okay with that at the moment. We're moving ahead as a priority on employee housing, because without employees we have we have a beautiful golf course. We have two really nice golf courses. So that's what I feel is the priority, and we're doing a study at the moment on how it's going to be. We're going to do a modular, because we don't have to pay prevailing wage for the construction of the modular. Only when you put it together do you have to pay, and that is
there another answer? Have you talked about whether you could lease the land to a private developer to do it?
We have not. That is not we're trying to look probably at a more immediate solution. I would definitely bring that to Eric's attention. I'm open to any ideas. The only bad idea is the one not talked about, I suppose.
Because we're considering doing that at the airport.
Right.
Taking that same approach with, anyway, so just a suggestion.
Yeah, no, I'll look into it and I'll ask, because...
it would take probably longer, but if you're looking to do something this summer, probably wouldn't work. But.
No, we're okay for this summer, but going forward, I mean, we have to bring in all these Nepalese guys. They come in H-2B visas. That's becoming more and more expensive, and it's a real issue. So the other news
would you use it for year-round employees as well?
Probably seasonal. And we're looking at what the other two golf courses do out here. Of course, Nantucket Golf money doesn't seem to be that much of an issue compared to what we have to deal with, and so we're trying to do the most cost-effective. And I'm a fiscal hawk. I'm genetically, being Scottish, I can't help it, unfortunately. But I like to really be thrifty in what we do and make it cost-effective. So, but I haven't really answered your question, have I?
Not really. Where does it stand? Where's the clubhouse stand?
Where the clubhouse stands is that we have an engineer right now, Kurt Raber, who has just done a study on all the buildings out there. He's found deficiencies in the clubhouse. The other buildings aren't as bad. The cart barn's brand new, no problem there. So we're still trying to. We've come to the conclusion you can't really renovate that one. If you renovate more than 30 to 40% of it, you have to bring the whole thing up to code, and it becomes cost prohibitive. So unfortunately, because I thought we could renovate it, the conclusion seems to be that if you're going to do anything there, you have to put up a new building. Now, we have not talked about how we're going to finance it, who's going to pay for it. In my mind, that's the third rail of politics.
But sort of the old plan of just, we'll build it, we'll take money from what we get from land bank fees and so forth. That's off the table.
Well,
pretty much.
That's like I said before, the third rail of politics
Right.
is that. I mean, the land bank was set up to buy open space for recreation for the people in Nantucket. We spent over $30 million on golf so far. And I feel this is a watershed moment. I mean, I haven't talked to anybody this winter who feels that taking revenues out of our regular revenues and putting up a clubhouse for 400 members is a good thing. That's just what people tell me, and I have to represent all views. I have my own views, but it's a real challenge, and we'll have a, I don't think John Stackpole can vote on this because he's a charter member, and he has to abstain when we start talking about the clubhouse.
Right.
And then that leaves Richard, who can vote, and myself, Alan, and Bob. Bob's wife has also resigned there, and so under state law, none of them have any conflicts anymore.
Right.
So, so the other thing that's happening is the Nantucket Golf Management, which Al Costa is the head of, his contract's up this year. It was for 5 years, and it cannot be extended, so it's going out for rebid. So we're also going to look at hiring a consultant. And
is that at the end of the year?
At the end of the year.
Yeah.
So he's gone for this season. I hate saying hire a consultant, but in some ways, $30,000, $40,000, it can reap huge benefits, because we need to look at the business model of My Comet, because, we have a dining room that,
breaks even, basically.
Breaks even, turns over $1 million, and, if we're being brutally honest, doesn't pay rent. So the school of thought on the commission, or some of the commissioners, is to get a consultant in to look at what we can do better, how we can structure the contract going forward, how we can keep the rates down. Because unless you remember, it can be, some people consider it quite expensive to play there, and I'm not in favor of, putting up the fees dramatically to, finance, say, $8, $10, $12 million clubhouse. I mean, I don't know what the numbers would actually be. It depends on the design. And so,
well, if you look at what the airport got for $5 million,
right, and you look at the cart barn that we built for $1 million, that we had no choice. We had to go with the bidder. We had to, under state law, it seems between the unions and big business, it's pretty well the taxpayer pays.
Right.
So that's my personal view.
I think you're right. I tend to agree with you.
Right, unfortunately, but you can't change that.
Yeah. So there's more to come, basically.
There's more to come, and it's going to come in the full light of publicity. It's going to be done. The press comes to every meeting now. The only time we go into executive session would be if in talking about the contract and stuff like that. But even the makeup of the contract, I believe, will be in public sessions, so the press can and everyone can understand exactly what we're doing going forward. The present century has come to Nantucket Land Bank in terms of, years ago it didn't matter as much as the airport experience too, and now it does.
Right.
And there's no, common sense not prevailing necessarily.
What about the good? You said the good things. You wanted to talk about the good things that are going. What
Yeah,
are the
we've
good
got
things?
well, last night, a small good thing to some people. We're applying for a beer and wine license out at Sconset, only during golfing hours, closing last call at 5:30 in the afternoon. It'll help with revenue because we don't make a lot of money out there, and after spending $2.5 million on a renovation, it would be nice if we could bring in something else, and it would enhance the experience, and it's a very nice place.
Is there a place in the clubhouse?
Oh yes,
where you
we have
can
a bar.
stay?
It's already built. It was already set up, and it takes one more person to do it. That's a good thing for some people. I would enjoy having a cold beer after playing golf there, which I'm legally allowed to do, for the record.
You're old enough. Good.
Well, no, there was some suggestion because I voted on a fees structure, and then I had a game of golf, and there was a perception that I was benefiting myself. So I went to the State Ethics Commission, told the newspaper, and I'm absolutely fine because I qualify for the same rule as the selectmen do in setting tax rates. So, and the other good things is we're at town meeting. We've got a new O exemption coming in to help try and alleviate some of the housing crisis. I don't know what we can do. I mean, some people talk about taking away some of the percentage of the land bank fee.
I guess this came up. There was a housing meeting over the weekend, and that subject came up there.
Well, I would say to those people, and I would be against it, because the land bank was set up at 2%. Our debt, we have a $27 million debt. I looked at the figures last night. It's $26,800,000. We need $7 million a year. If you took away, and by the way, it's all backed by the town and our taxpayers.
Right.
If you took away 0.25%, 0.5%, we'd essentially be done, and and some people say, well, maybe that's a good thing. I think there's still things we can do. Waterfront property is to me a priority. We bought Arno's. Now that was a 3-2 vote. I was one of the people who didn't vote for it, but it doesn't matter. We voted for it. It's going ahead. We signed the contract last night to tear the building down. It's going to be a park there. So I think maybe a floating dock. It'll be very interesting to see how people react to that, and so would be a good thing.
Right.
The good thing is we've got a lot of beautiful properties, a lot of incredible walking trails if you like to do that, and so those are some of the good things.
One of the interesting reactions I heard to this session was that it was characterized as land bank bashing by certain people who were there, and the person who told me about it, who heard the comment about land bank bashing, also said that was not his impression at all, that it was a very good back and forth about the whole housing situation, and somebody just got up and raised the question. But it wasn't. Not a lot of time was spent on it, and
right. I think it would be. They're talking of the housing bank. I believe it is at 1%. 1%. The question is, you're going to need then to set up an administration. Possibly the land bank could do it, but there's probably going to have to be some kind of administration fee to do it, because it's a whole nother level.
Well, there's a cost.
There's a cost to it that we probably feel that we'll help, but so that's a question. I'd like to read more. I haven't read the exact article, which I've been away for 3 weeks.
Well, would it? I mean, I guess one of the questions that could come out of this is not necessarily the diversion of the tax revenue, but rather the designation of certain of the land that the land bank owns as possibly usable for housing.
Well, the original founder, Bill Klein, very, very cleverly wrote the Land Bank Act, or maybe the legislators, in a way that made it's very difficult to change, and it's deliberately so, because certain people could look at it as low-hanging fruit and just think, well, we've got an immediate need, let's just take the land.
Right.
I mean, the school thing, that's going to take a year or so. It's going to the State House. Who knows? I mean, it may not pass. They may say, well, you haven't got enough land. I mean, we all unanimously voted to do the swap with the school, because when that land was originally bought, and Tim Madden reminded me.
What land is that
we're talking about on Bacchus Lane. It's for more playing fields. And Tim Madden reminded me that when it was bought, and he was on the board then, he said it was bought with that in mind, that we could swap it with the school, with the town, essentially. But we've tried to, we've got houses that we buy land with houses on them. I think going forward, Richard mentioned this last night, and I agreed with him. We don't always agree, and I mean the whole board, but it's a really interesting board. We have all kinds of cross-section of opinions, that we should be buying more open space, not houses on land, because then we've got to get rid of the house, and you know, a lot of these houses we get, no one seems to want them. We end up paying to take them to the dump. One of my ideas I thought I came up with and we explored was that if, say, we spend $38,000 is what we're paying Miles Reese to take away the Arno property, we could give that to somebody to take the house away. But of course, you know, it seemed like a great idea, but of course, as a municipality, you can't do that. But you know, I thought that would be a help to first-time home buyers. If they had a lot, we could help them get rid of the house. So, and one other thing that I should have mentioned first about the land bank is we have a great staff that are really, really helpful, and I think that's one of the reasons that I decided to run again. Is that really, you know, you have an issue, they take care of it, and they're very, very helpful. And Nantucket's lucky to have the land bank. Many other communities across the world would be very envious of it. So.
There are others, though, are there not?
The vineyard, it's got a slightly different law, different laws. We were reading them recently, which, you know, something you need to do before you go to bed at night. If you want to go to, no, I mean that in jest, but you know, it's quite dry stuff.
Yeah.
So, no, I think the land bank's done great things for Nantucket. I think in 100 years from now, you know, it'll be considered visionary that what we've saved so much land. You know, so that's my opinion.
Well, that's why you're there.
Well, yeah, so far so good.
Can we change gears for a minute and talk about the fire department?
You can.
How's the fire department?
We've got a new chief.
Right.
I was.
Gino took him around in one of his drive-around interviews. So he preempted me, so I couldn't get him.
Oh, really? Well, I was on the, as you know, I was on the committee for the new fire station, and then Libby asked me to be on the committee to help search out a new chief, and that was very, very interesting. And I think Paul will do really well here. He has the energy and the vision and the experience, and he's I've told him this, so he's got one of those faces that you just don't want to disappoint when he asks you to do something, which I think will stand him in good stead here. And he's also got a very technical background, and he's very familiar with the municipal bidding. So as I understand it, it's going to be this fall, but hopefully they might even break ground by then for the thing, which would be good. And it'll bring us up to you know, there's a chance to go to advanced life saving, and which will be huge in saving people's lives. And the thing I was going to talk about at town meeting, and luckily only one person asked one question, was to talk about insurance rates, which, you know, because insurance rates are set on run times, and as the island grows every year with however many houses a year come online, and all everyone has smoke detectors, alarm systems, and many, you know, 98% of the calls, you know, are false alarms, but you have to go there, and you have to send an engine, and what that does is it stretches the department further and further and further. And if the voters decided not to build that fire station, the insurance companies would just say, you know, we're just going to put the rates up. So you'd have paid actually more than what we're paying in a tax override. And that's what I was going to talk about, and thankfully was saved by only Steve McCluskey asking one question. So, no, I think it's a good thing for the town. There's a lot of capital expenses coming down the line. This is one I felt strongly about, and you know, we've got all the ingredients for safety for all.
So all's pretty good with the world.
Well, yeah, some people, I mean, those that don't like overrides, they say it's awful, but unfortunately the whole world's growing everywhere you go, and how we manage our growth, you know, I think Nantucket does a pretty good job with it. Our taxes are low.
Neil Patterson, thanks so much.
Thank you, Dan.
Good to talk to you again.
Good to talk to you.